Welcome to today's Explainer. Have you ever watched one of those motivational stories online and just felt this sudden, undeniable urge to completely change your life? It honestly feels like magic. But here's the secret. Our brains are actually chemically wired to respond to these exact types of videos. Behind that massive surge of inspiration is a highly structured, meticulously designed framework. So today, we're going to totally deconstruct the exact blueprint needed to craft those highly emotional, viral motivational stories. We'll be looking closely at the specific narrative architectures that content creators use to build these compelling journeys from the ground up.
Okay, let's dive into this. The big question we are answering today is, how do you actually engineer inspiration? How do you take a really simple concept, just someone with a dream, and mechanically transform it into a narrative that captivates us, holds our attention, and ultimately motivates us to take action? Well, our source material actually provides 3 distinct frameworks for doing exactly this. And that applies whether you're making a long-form video, a quick 60-second short, or even a faceless AI narrative story. So, let's begin with the foundational narrative arc. Part 1. The Blueprint of Resilience. This framework absolutely demands a protagonist who starts with nothing, literally nothing. First, we have the dream. Then we hit stage 2, rejection and doubt. And as a storyteller, you cannot skip this part. The framework demands we show them getting harsh criticism, maybe getting laughed right out of a room, or facing multiple crushing failures. Finally, we get to relentless effort. It's this shared human experience of grueling daily struggles and personal sacrifice that makes the eventual success actually feel earned. So, the crucial point is that we aren't just showcasing suffering for the sake of it. The source text explicitly demands we inject powerful life lessons into these daily struggles. The narrative must overtly demonstrate persistence, discipline, and consistency. But above all, it has to show the protagonist believing in themselves when literally nobody else does. These are the core thematic pillars that give the journey its motivational weight, making us, the viewers, reflect on our own discipline and self-belief. Moving right along to Part 2, Engineering Emotional Tension. You see, simply listing facts isn't enough. You have to build intense emotional tension through really vivid storytelling and cinematic descriptions. If we map this out, on day 1 we introduce the dream and optimism is flying high. But by month 6, self-doubt creeps in as the reality of the challenge sets in. By year 1, we are in the thick of it, highlighting multiple painful failures. The pacing here is slow, it's heavy, it's deliberate. But as we push through that relentless effort, the intensity and narrative momentum build faster and faster until we finally reach year 2, the breakthrough. That tension is carefully managed to completely maximize the impact of that final victory. Now let's see how this all adapts for platforms like TikTok and Reels in Part 3, the 60-second short. When your time is slashed to just 1 single minute, that sprawling emotional blueprint has to be forcefully compressed. Looking at the general format versus the 60-second short, the source instructions highlight some massive differences. You simply don't have time for a slow burn. You need a dramatic hook right out of the gate, like opening with the creator being openly mocked for chasing their dream. Because of the insane time constraint, every single sentence has to hit like a freight train. It needs to be fast, punchy, impactful, and intensely inspiring. There is absolutely zero room for filler.
Which brings us to a completely different style of storytelling. Part 4, the faceless story format.
Now, what's really interesting about this format is that because it removes the visual connection to an on-camera human, the script itself has to do all the heavy lifting. Instead of a specific creator, the protagonist is framed as an ordinary person, overcoming impossible odds through pure discipline and patience. It leans heavily on suspenseful emotional highs and lows, and the prompt explicitly specifies that this engaging, cinematic narration must be perfectly optimized for AI voiceovers to carry the emotion and keep the viewer totally hooked.
Regardless of the format, though, they all drive toward the exact same climax. Part 5, the ultimate breakthrough.
All that accumulated tension from rejection and failure absolutely must release into a highly satisfying ending. And this brilliantly illustrates how these forces interact. We start with impossible odds stacked incredibly high. But over time, relentless effort grows and builds until it completely overtakes those odds, resulting directly in breakthrough success. The framework dictates that the ending must emphatically prove that hard work pays off. The source material is very clear on the definition here. A breakthrough isn't just a happy ending, right? It acts as psychological proof to the viewer. The ultimate goal across all of these narrative prompts isn't just to entertain, it's to move the audience from passive scrolling to feeling a burning desire to take immediate action on their own personal goals. To guarantee that the viewer actually takes that action, the framework for the Shorts prompt mandates a very specific, undeniable ending to leave a lasting impact. And that call to action is simple, yet incredibly powerful. Never quit on your dream.
We've seen exactly how these stories are engineered, from the daily struggles to the dramatic hooks and the final satisfying breakthroughs. So I want to leave you with a thought to apply these mechanics to your own life. If you are writing your own motivational story today, what impossible odds would you overcome? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope you leave here today feeling inspired to start scripting your very own breakthrough.